Hi, this is Ryan with Optrua. Thanks for coming and visiting our channel. Today we're going to be covering a video that talks about 12 key roles for a successful CRM project team. This is a video that is a supplemental information for a blog that we wrote. So if you'd like to know more about the details, please check out the blog. And if you have any comments, would like to add something, a question for us to answer, please leave them in the comments below. So a successful CRM project, what does it take? A lot of people think that it's technology. It's pick the right CRM system. And I would tell you from years of consulting, it's not about the technology, it's about the people. It's about having the right people, the right roles defined with clarity and accountability that gives you the edge on having a successful CRM project. If you have the right people in the right roles, that goes a long way to overcoming anything that you might encounter, that you're going to encounter along the way of building your own CRM system. In these videos, we go through a lot of complexity, and so we really do welcome comments or questions. If you do have one, please leave it in the area below, and we'll get right back to you. The 12 roles that impact your CRM project, we're going to go through them real quickly first, just to let you know what they are, and then I'll give a little bit more detail about each one. So the 12 roles are executive sponsor, subject matter experts, project manager, business analyst, technical architect, CRM developer, quality assurance, IT support, data analyst, training specialist, support specialist, and change management lead. Okay, so the first, and I would say one of the more important roles, they're all important, but this one's really key, is the executive sponsor. So the executive sponsor is the person that approves the deal to begin with, approves the budget, and has something to gain out of it being completed successfully on time and within budget. So it's the executive leader, the person that is going to benefit, their company's going to benefit from having all of this automation, and they're ultimately the person, good or bad, that's going to be held responsible for the outcomes. The next role, the important role, is a subject matter expert. The subject matter expert might be a power user or somebody very knowledgeable around sales or marketing. They're going to be the person that is helping the CRM team understand where the bottlenecks are, where the time that people spend, what can be automated, what's required, and what maybe is a nice to have. The next role is the project manager. That's the person that keeps everybody on task, that meets with folks related to budget and scope and timelines, coordinates meetings, and ultimately reports back to the executive sponsor on whether the project is on target, on budget, and on time. The next role is the business analyst. The business analyst is taking what the subject matter expert might say and going deeper. They're kind of a bridge, in a sense, between the subject matter expert and a developer, where they're taking these business requirements, making them into logic, if you will, that then can be developed by the development team. The next role is the architect, and that's the person that's responsible for the technical viability of the project. You might have a number of things like integrations and code and data structures and reporting requirements, and the architect is going to bring all that together into something that flows well and adheres to best practices for technology. The next role is a CRM developer. These days, it can be a low-code developer or a pro-code developer, but it's somebody that's technical, that can get into the underpinnings of things and build custom processes, workflow automations, integrations. The developer is typically the technical powerhouse of the team. So the QA role is the person that's responsible for the system behaving according to the requirements. So if new code is being built, if new screens are being designed, if new reports are being created, the QA person is the one that double checks everything to make sure it's ready for the end users. So IT support is very crucial to the CRM project. Yes, these days a lot of CRM systems are cloud-based. In most cases, you're going to have cloud architecture for your CRM system. However, you still need connectivity, you still need internet access. The IT support person is going to be able to clear any technical hurdles that might interfere with the project moving forward. The data analyst is another really important role. So most CRM systems these days are coming from one older system and mapping data forward to a new system. So the data analyst is going to be the one looking at and aware of where all the data is. It might be maybe not in the best form, but it needs to be moved forward, migrated, and potentially integrated with other systems. The data analyst will be the person that is at the core of those technical decisions. The training specialist is a role that is often overlooked. Often we do want to make CRM systems very easy to use, but with them come embedded business processes and not just using the software, but using it in a way that works for the company. The training specialist will be the person that takes the software and the business need, puts them together, and helps ensure the end users are following the process to get the best business outcomes. Okay, the next role, even though sometimes we might overlook this one, is the support specialist. And it's good to have that role defined early in the project before the CRM goes live, because often right at go live, or even sometimes before while we're going through testing, there might be the need to support the end users. So the support specialist is going to understand how the system works and be kind of a cross between like a IT administrator and a CRM administrator. They're going to be somebody that can support the end users regardless of what issue they might be having, and not allow them to get stuck and then build up anxiety around using the system. And I saved the best role for last, if you will. One of the most important things is user adoption when it comes to a CRM rollout. So to get good user adoption, you need to embrace change management. So change management is when a system comes in, has new screens, new behaviors, maybe some new business processes. All of our end users really need to be on board with that. And the change management specialist ensures that end users can understand the business need, the why behind the system, and help overcome any areas where people might be pushing back on the system or dragging their heels. The change management specialist is going to work with the rest of the CRM team to identify areas that might be hard for users and help alleviate those problems by finding fixes and rolling them out throughout the organization. So in summary, the 12 roles are the executive sponsor, subject matter experts, there can be multiple, project manager, business analyst, technical architect, CRM developer or developers, quality assurance, IT support, data analyst, training specialist, support specialist, and change management lead. Let me tell you about a real world incident that happened on a project that ultimately succeeded, but it was painful. So in one instance, we had a CIO, Chief Information Officer, that was playing the role of both the executive sponsor and the sales VP. So what happened is we kicked off the project, everything was great, everybody was engaged. Then behind the scenes, the CIO told the executive sponsor, hey, we don't need you on the project. I can play that role for you. And then sales got busy. And sales like, hey, I got to sell. I can't be on this project, once a week giving input. Can you just do it for me? And good-naturedly, the CIO agreed, hey, I'll just do your role for you. So now we have one person playing the role of executive sponsor of the CIO, of the IT resource, and the sales resource. So what happened on the project team is we got direction to move forward, to build functionality, and the CIO was guessing at what the sales VP needed. So ultimately what happened is we ran over on budget, we ran over on time because we were building things that were told to be built by the CIO. And then when the VP of sales would see the results, he would throw it all out and say, no, you have to start over. And so we played this game for several months. And at the end of it, what happened is the CEO finally re-engaged in the project, found the project was way delayed by months, was 50% over budget. And as you might imagine, there was a lot of explaining to do. Not a pretty thing. So what was the core issue was like blurred responsibilities and incorrect, delegation of roles. So instead, it would have been much better to have an engaged executive sponsor. The person that's paying the bills and responsible for the bills gets to call the shots. But when that was delegated to somebody else that didn't have that same skin in the game, things were delegated and assigned without kind of having the responsibility for the outcomes. So instead, let's keep all the distinct roles engaged on purpose. They each play their own role in a successful project. If you're a smaller business and you're wondering how to handle 12 different roles at one time, you might only have 2 or 3 people. The key isn't the number of people, but it's the clarity of who's playing what role, who has what hat on, and to make sure that the roles don't conflict with each other. So for example, a developer role, you would not want to combine with a QA role for the work that they're doing. It's very difficult to, as a developer, to kind of really see and double check all your work. You need a fresh set of eyes to do that. Also, say maybe continuing to stay with the developer, it would be very clunky to have a developer that was also the subject matter expert. So the subject matter expert is responsible for coming up with ideas. And if that same person that's coming up with ideas is then coding and doing all the development for those ideas, then you get into a situation where you would have uncontrollable scope creep and you would have uncontrollable delays because that person coming up with all the ideas is just kicking the can down the road further and further. Another example of a bad combination would be the one I said earlier, where you have the executive sponsor who's shoved off the project and somebody that doesn't have the responsibility, doesn't have the budget authority, comes in and starts calling the shots. Then at some point in the project, you're going to have the executive sponsor pop back up 12 months after the project started and say, what's up, guys? How come we're still working on this project? And everybody will be left kind of holding the bag. Okay, so my final thought on this is that CRM projects are not successful because of the technology. They're successful because of the people that are involved with the project and having the forethought to think through the roles, to get everything mapped out correctly before you begin, and to hold people accountable to the things that they need to play on the project. I'm sure a lot of people have heard the saying, start with the end in mind. Start with understanding your team layout and having the key roles defined and well understood. If you can do that, you'll have a lot better chance of having a successful CRM project. So that concludes our video for today. Hope you liked it. If you did, please like and subscribe. That really helps us out. And we look forward to seeing you on the next one. Thanks a lot.